In the dazzling world of K-pop, where every smile is timed, every glance is scrutinized, and every word can spark a storm, there are still stories whispered behind the scenes. Stories that never make headlines. Stories too delicate for cameras. Stories like this one. This is the quiet, hidden tale of two artists, Jungkook of BTS and Byron Woo, two voices from different paths, one from the epicenter of global fame, the other, a Korean-American artist carving his name into Seoul's underground music scene. They met not at a party, not on a set, but through the one thing that connected them more than anything else, music. It was 2023, a small, private showcase in Seoul. Jungkook walked in unnoticed, hoodie up, mask on, slipping into the back of the venue just as Byron Woo stepped onto the stage. Byron's energy? Electric. His lyrics? Honest. His presence? Undeniable. Jungkook stayed after the show. They talked. Not as global icons or underground legends, but as two artists. Two people. What started with a shared love for rhythm quickly turned into something else. Late-night studio sessions turned into all-night conversations. Coffee runs became walks under streetlights. And slowly, something real began to form. They kept it hidden, not because they were ashamed, but because the world they lived in would never understand. Jungkook, the youngest in BTS, had lived under a microscope for years. Every move dissected, every friendship analyzed. Byron, though less exposed, understood too well the cost of honesty, especially when it came to matters of the heart. Together, they found refuge. In each other, they could breathe. They didn't need paparazzi photos. They didn't need to announce anything. They just needed space. Private nights in Itaewon. Matching bracelets. No one noticed. Voice notes sent at 3 a.m. Songs written, but never released. Byron once wrote a track called August Bloom. It never dropped. But those who've heard it behind closed doors say it tells of a love that grew in silence. Watered by moonlight. Held together by whispered promises. But no love is without its pressure. Byron, always more open, wanted to step into the light. Jungkook, ever cautious, feared the consequences. Then came the Instagram story. Byron posted a photo. A single mic in a dimly lit room. Captioned, "Not everything real has to be seen." To the public? Just a vibe. A teaser. A mood. But to them? It was a message, a moment of conflict, a silent conversation. And then, the leak. A blurry backstage photo. Two men embracing, one with familiar tattoos. Faces turned away, but speculation ran wild. Armies debated. Fan forums exploded. The media stayed quiet. And yet, neither Jungkook nor Byron addressed it. No denial. No confirmation. Just silence. A silence that said more than words ever could. Time passed. Jungkook's solo music took on a new depth. Layered with emotion, longing, restraint. Byron's lyrics, too, shifted. Softer. More vulnerable. People noticed. But no one really knew. And maybe that's how it was meant to be. Because their story isn't about fame. Or headlines. Or scandal. It's about what happens when two souls find each other in a world built to keep them apart. It's about quiet mornings, unreleased songs, and the kind of connection that doesn't need permission. Even now, in 2025, their relationship remains unofficial. No posts, no confirmations, no statements. Just a feeling, a thread, a truth that lives between the lyrics and the silences. And maybe that's enough. Because sometimes, the most powerful love stories aren't the ones shouted from rooftops, but the ones that survive in shadows. The ones that choose privacy, not because they have to hide, but because they know what they have is too precious for the world to hold. A love not for the world, but in spite of it. Love, no matter how deeply felt, doesn't always exist in a straight line. Sometimes it curves. Sometimes it fades. And sometimes it waits. Months passed after the photo leak. The world moved on. So, did the music charts. So did the cameras. But behind all that noise, Jungkook and Byron were drifting. Not because the love was gone, but because the pressure was growing. Every secret comes with a cost. And the weight of invisibility. It wears on you. Friends noticed Jungkook getting quieter, more withdrawn. Even during interviews, he'd pause longer between questions. Smile, but not quite the same. Byron, too, began pulling back from social media. The fire in his music dimmed. His lyrics, less daring. More guarded. They hadn't broken up. Not exactly. But something had shifted. It was subtle, but real. They still talked. Still met sometimes, in quiet places. But the spark that once felt effortless, now felt fragile. Like a note held too long. One cold February evening, in a tiny studio in Mapogu, they met again. No music. No plans. Just the two of them. Jungkook wore a gray hoodie, his hair unstyled, eyes tired. Byron brought hot tea from their favorite cafe. They sat across from each other in silence. The kind of silence that says everything. Finally, Jungkook spoke. Do you ever wonder what it would have been like if we were just normal? Byron didn't answer right away. He just looked at him. And then said quietly, I don't want normal. I just wanted us. That moment didn't change the world. But it changed them. Because sometimes, love doesn't need to explode to be real. Sometimes it just sits quietly. In a studio on a winter night. Waiting to be heard again. In the weeks that followed, they began writing together again. Not for a mixtape. Not for an album. Just for themselves. A shared Google Drive folder. Dozens of demo tracks. Voice memos. Chords. Unfinished verses. One track, unnamed, featured both their voices. Simple guitar. No beat. Just Jungkook humming a melody, and Byron whispering lyrics like a prayer. It was raw, unpolished, untouched by producers. And it was beautiful. For a while, that was enough. Creating without expectation. Loving without definition. They weren't boyfriends. They weren't just friends. They were something else. Something the world didn't have a name for. Then, in early summer, Byron booked a flight to New York. A creative residency. 3 months. He didn't tell Jungkook at first. Didn't want to ruin what they had found again. But secrets, even small ones, have a way of making the air feel thinner. The night before he left, they met one last time. Same studio. Same tea. Same silence. Jungkook asked, when were you going to tell me? Byron looked down. I didn't know how. Jungkook nodded slowly. No anger. Just a quiet sadness. The kind that comes when you know love isn't leaving, but it's changing shape. They didn't say goodbye. They didn't need to. Because when love is real, you never really leave it behind. You carry it. In the chords of a forgotten song. In the scent of jasmine tea. In the pause before a verse. In the spaces between the spotlight. Today, Jungkook performs on the biggest stages in the world. Byron releases indie tracks from his Brooklyn loft. They don't follow each other online. They don't mention each other in interviews. But if you listen closely, if you really listen, you'll hear traces of the story they never told. A lyric here. A vocal riff there. A love coded in melody. Soft. Quiet. Unbreakable. Because sometimes, the greatest romances aren't about endings or beginnings, but about existence.